Trail runners have long awaited for new super shoes and super foams to find their way into trail running shoes. The Adidas Terrex Agravic Speed gives you a premium Lightstrike Pro race foam, but does it stand up to the challenging demands of trail running's terrains? Let's find out. Hey, welcome back to Running Shoe Kings. Today we're going to do a deep dive into the Adidas Agravic Speed. We've gotten 50 miles of both trail racing, some snow runs, and just regular trail running into this shoe, so let's get into things. As a disclosure, I purchased this shoe with my own money, and what follows is my own opinion and any information I found when researching the shoe. Starting off with the specs, we have 34 millimeters of stack height here in the heel, going down to 26 millimeters of stack height in the forefoot for an 8 millimeter drop. Weight comes in at 8.5 ounces in standard size, or 241 grams, and the shoe retails at $160. As I mentioned in the introduction, this does have a Lightstrike Pro midsole, and a combination then also of just regular Lightstrike in the upper part of the midsole for a little bit added stability for the trails. Alright, so we're going to cover the shoe bottom to top. Starting off with our outsole here, we have Adidas's Continental Rubber, that little joint program that they have with Continental Tire, and we have 4 millimeter lugs. However, looking at the bottom of the shoe here, it actually has a little denotation that there's a range of 3 millimeter to 4 millimeter lugs, depending on where you need a little bit more. Just visually, I'm going to say that you have less lug depth in the center line of the shoe here, with a little bit more lug depth on the outsides and especially back here in the heel. Moving up to the midsole, we have the Adidas's Lightstrike Pro is the bottom compound here, and Adidas's just regular Lightstrike. So the Lightstrike Pro is kind of that premium race foam. It's a lot softer, bouncier, and the Lightstrike's quite firm actually, just adds some more stability to that shoe. And moving up then to the upper, we have an engineered woven type material here. It's almost plasticky, but not quite plastic. It's kind of coarse as well, and you can definitely notice that it's kind of a budget-friendly upper design as compared to something that's overly plush or super comfortable around the collar or over the forefoot. Onto the ride and feel of the Terrex Agravic Speed. So, as it says in the name, Speed, this shoe is certainly a faster shoe. It's not to be confused with the Agravic Speed Ultra, which has the carbon rods, making it a little bit more of a premium race day shoe, whereas this is kind of just the little brother of that. But this is still a very lightweight and can be used for race paces, or I've even used it for some races. Now, Adidas finally brought their Lightstrike Pro midsole from the roads over the trails, and it is more than welcome to stay. Lightstrike is both a soft but resilient midsole. I found that to be true, especially in the Adidas Adios Pro 2s that I still wear, even though those are now 2-3 years old, and that Lightstrike foam just is able to stand up to the beating that you don't necessarily see a lot of other race day foams be able to handle, especially whenever you go over to the trails. I never had an issue with stability, and I think that comes down to the fact that it has that little bit extra support from the regular Lightstrike. So not the Lightstrike Pro, just regular Lightstrike. I wouldn't want a shoe of just light strike. That's just a very firm. It's not very exciting, and not something that I want to be wearing all day, especially whenever I'm doing some of those longer races. Um, Onto the lugs, I think they were sufficient, and I even took them through some very muddy conditions that, frankly, you're not going to find a shoe that's going to be able to handle those types of conditions. But I think my favorite part about those lugs is they don't collect any excess mud. Now, I did end up having to clean these off a little bit before I shot this video, but the lugs on these just don't collect any of that super sticky mud that some other like really high lug depth shoes might have. I will say that the shoe doesn't like a heel strike pattern, so I actually used this for the final 25 miles of my 100-mile ultra marathon back in March, and just walking around in it. Now, obviously, whenever you're that late into a race, nothing's going to feel good, but this shoe just wasn't really feeling those drastic downhills where you're really on the heel trying to stay under control, especially when it's super muddy out. I did notice some rubbing here in the Achilles with this heel counter, because there's just no padding whatsoever around the heel counter, a small amount around the ankles here, and nothing on the tongue. But I never had any blistering from that, but it was just enough for me to notice and kind of pay attention to it. Now, the upper is very simplified, and I think that helps in the case of trying to get drainage, but it kind of reminds me of some early super shoes like the Next Percent 1 or the Next Percent 2, more so the Next Percent 1, where it's just kind of a plasticky feel and it's not too comfortable, but most of that upper in general just isn't going to be that super comfortable feel that you might want in that premium race day shoe. All right, so on to my favorite part about the shoe, and that has to be the ability that it can go up to some really fast paces on the trails if you need to, and it still feels solid. I didn't feel like the shoe was putting me in any compromising positions, especially on some really technical trails. Wasn't risking any ankle rolls on some technical descents or even just some faster ascents where you kind of have to be careful where you're stepping. And being able to get those benefits of Light Strike Pro in a trail shoe without losing that stability factor is exactly what I was hoping for when Adidas kind of released their premium racing shoes with the Terrex Agravic Speed and the Terrex Agravic Pro. Or sorry, the Terrex Agravic Ultra. And on to the worst part about the shoe. Now, although I didn't end up with any blistering despite wearing it for those last 25 miles of my ultra marathon, the upper does need some help to it. The lockdown wasn't an issue. I actually really like that lockdown. The laces have that extra threading on the outsides there that makes sure that there's no sliding, no slipping. But the lockdown isn't the hard part to master. It's that plasticky feel of the upper, and especially around the heel counter there. I was just hoping to get a little bit more padding, but what are you going to do whenever you're kind of just starting off in the market with a premium race day foam in a trail running shoe? So, what is my final verdict? I would recommend the shoe for someone who's looking for an up-tempo trail shoe that doesn't quite put you out of touch with the trail, so it's not too high of a stack height, you're still able to feel the ground. You're not going to be worrying too much about ankle rolls, stuff like that. But it does have that race day level foam if that's what you're looking for in a trail shoe, and it can deliver at race paces. And you're still able to be agile and not have to worry about the terrain as much as you might have to with some higher stack height trail shoes. I wouldn't race anything too far in this. Probably would want to keep it sub half marathon, maybe go up to say a 15-mile or a 20-mile race is really pushing things, because it does want to go fast. So maybe if you're going to be taking this up to those faster paces for longer races, but at that point you're probably going to be wanting to go with the Agravic Speed Ultra anyway. Thank you for watching my review of the Adidas Terrex Agravic Speed. If you have the opportunity to wear these shoes as well, go ahead and leave your thoughts and comment in the comments down below. And if you found this video helpful, please leave a like and subscribe for more running shoe content. But we'll see you next time. Stop recording.